Mercedes Moné has not held back about her departure from WWE and her leap to AEW. This wasn't just about a paycheck. It wasn't even just about creative direction. It was about feeling like WWE no longer aligned with the vision she had for herself and for women's wrestling as a whole. When she walked out, it shocked the industry, but if you look closely, all the signs were already there. Mercedes, formerly known as Sasha Banks, was at the top of her game in WWE. Multiple-time champion, one of the most recognizable names in wrestling, and a staple of the women's division. She had the merch, the fan base, the credibility. And yet, she made the choice to walk away. Not quietly, not on injury, but in a storm of frustration that spoke volumes about how she viewed WWE's treatment of women's tag team wrestling. In 2023, she was one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions with Naomi. The company had plans for them to compete in singles championship storylines, including a gauntlet match that involved both of them. But Mercedes didn't agree with the direction. She believed that as tag champions, they should be building the division, not being used as stepping stones in singles programs. Vince McMahon, still in power at the time, thought otherwise. He saw them as two top-tier stars who could plug into bigger title scenes and generate more buzz, even if it meant sidelining the tag belts. That was the breaking point. Instead of going along, Mercedes and Naomi walked out. They left the belts behind on the desk of John Laurinaitis and were later suspended. WWE scrubbed them from promotional materials, removed their merchandise, and made it clear they were no longer part of the roster. Naomi eventually returned, signing with TNA and making an impact there, but Mercedes charted a different course. She went to Japan. She wrestled in Stardom. She embraced the style she had always respected and wanted to learn more about. She rebuilt herself as Mercedes Moné, the CEO character that emphasized independence, business savvy, and strength. And in 2024, she officially signed with AEW. Now in AEW, she's been the TBS champion and the winner of the Women's Owen Hart Cup. And next month at AEW's All-In event at Globe Life Field in Texas, she's set to face Toni Storm in what is arguably the biggest women's match AEW can offer right now. The card is stacked: Kenny Omega vs. Okada, Jon Moxley vs. Hangman Page, but Mercedes vs. Toni Storm is the women's headline, and it's massive. In a recent issue of her own Moné magazine, Mercedes opened up about the decision to leave WWE. She said, "Growing up, WWE was everything to me. I never imagined my life without it. But over time, I realized it wasn't WWE that I couldn't live without, it was pro wrestling itself." That quote alone tells you the core of the issue. She didn't leave wrestling. She left a system she no longer believed in. She also stated, "That decision pushed me to new heights. It matured me, empowered me to take control of my life and my future. I'm especially thankful to all my fans who stood by me through this journey." She's made it clear walking out wasn't a retreat. It was a reset. She felt WWE was no longer the place where she could thrive or bring her vision of women's wrestling to life. AEW offered her something else: freedom. And while the company's women's division still has work to do, her presence has elevated it immediately. Her matches have been praised, and her influence backstage is reportedly strong. She's not just wrestling, she's helping shape the future of AEW's women's roster. Now, let's be clear, there are still fans who argue that Sasha Banks, the character she portrayed in WWE, was a stronger persona than Mercedes Moné. They say the boss gimmick was more memorable, the promos were better, and the presentation was sharper. And in some ways, they have a point. Sasha Banks in WWE was a complete package: theme song, look, crowd connection. But Mercedes Moné in AEW is a work in progress, and she's showing she can succeed without the WWE machine behind her. In terms of in-ring work, many believe Moné's matches in AEW and Japan have been even better than her WWE run. She's faced different styles, different opponents, and grown as a performer. And while AEW's women's division still lacks the depth and polish of WWE's, especially with the talent pool WWE now has: Roxanne Perez, Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Jordynne Grace, and Julia, the gap is closing. NXT right now is arguably the most exciting women's brand in wrestling. WWE has placed heavy focus on their women's division, and you can see the effort paying off. AEW, meanwhile, is still catching up. But Moné's signing wasn't just about what AEW could offer her, it was also about what she could bring to AEW. Internally, sources say Mercedes is involved in creative pitches and is advocating for more screen time for women. She's become a locker room leader. She's pushing for AEW's women's roster to be taken more seriously, to have multiple storylines, and to be presented as stars. Back to the original decision, walking out of WWE was risky. Vince McMahon was still calling the shots, and there was no guarantee that Triple H would take over or that the direction of the company would change. Some fans argue that had they stayed, Naomi and Sasha could have been huge under the new creative regime. And maybe that's true. But Moné wasn't interested in waiting for maybe. She wanted something concrete, something immediate. And the freedom to build her own legacy. The split also allowed Naomi to find herself. Her run in TNA has been critically praised, and she's elevated her game. Both stars grew by leaving, and both have come back stronger. Since arriving in AEW, Mercedes has been vocal about wanting AEW to tour internationally, wanting to headline pay-per-views, and wanting to help build a brand that values women on the same level as men. She's also reportedly been involved in AEW's marketing efforts for their women's division, using her name and image to draw new viewers. Most recently, she's been featured in a promotional campaign with Warner Bros. Discovery to push AEW content on Max. That's a huge development. Moné isn't just part of AEW. She's now one of the faces of their television brand, which includes merchandise, streaming, and international distribution. That's something she likely would have never gotten in WWE, where only a select few cross into that level of mainstream marketing. Now let's talk about the AEW All-In match against Toni Storm. This isn't just a title match. This is a battle between two philosophies. Toni Storm, the unpredictable wildcard who has made her name by tearing through AEW's roster with her eccentric personality and vicious offense. And Mercedes Moné, the focused, polished, global star who brings legacy, technique, and intensity to every match. This bout is about legitimacy. Whoever wins walks away not just with a title, but with the claim of being the top woman in AEW. As for what comes next, Moné has teased multiple dream matches. She's expressed interest in wrestling Julia if a cross-promotional deal between WWE and AEW ever materializes. She's hinted at facing Bayley again if the opportunity ever arises. She also wants to headline a Dynamite or Collision episode in her hometown, Boston. Trending reports this month also suggest Mercedes is being lined up for a future crossover feud with Stardom's top star Julia, who is reportedly still headed to WWE but could appear in AEW due to her working agreement with Rossy Ogawa's new promotion. That means we might see Moné face Julia before she officially debuts in WWE. Nothing is confirmed, but AEW has been working behind the scenes to open that door. Additionally, Moné is working with New Japan to host a women's invitational later this year, a move designed to spotlight more international talent and further connect AEW's women's division to Japan's scene. She's serious about legacy, and she's putting in the work to make it happen. Mercedes Moné didn't walk out just because she was unhappy. She walked out because she believed something better was possible, and now, she's proving it. Whether or not AEW becomes the place where she builds her greatest run, one thing's clear: Mercedes Moné is no longer waiting for opportunity. She's creating it.